Hi, this is Leanne at Complete Payroll. Welcome to Payroll Country. Today we're going to take a look at the check lines entry in Payroll for Evolution Classic. Beginning at our quick entry grid to get to our individual check lines, we're just going to double click on the employee record that we want to work with. If an employee has a note and they are highlighted in yellow, we'll double click on their name. And we're immediately taken to the note that needs to be read before we enter in anything for their payroll. From here, we can then go to the Check Lines tab, and we are able to make any edits that are needed in the check lines. If an employee does not have a note and is not highlighted, when we double click on their name, we are taken directly to the Check Lines tab in our individual check line area. Here, we can edit our grid by adding or deleting columns. And the way that we do that is we simply right-click our mouse anywhere in the grid, and we will add, if we want to add a new column, I'm going to select rate number. I also may want to add a department if I want to be able to see that as well. If I would like to delete a column, I would simply click, highlight, delete, and then select which column I would like to remove. Once I've customized my grid, I can move the columns to be in a different order if it is more convenient for me. So for example, I'm going to move rate number by clicking with my mouse, holding, and then just dragging it to the position that I want it to show on the grid. The system will save these changes for future entry on this computer. While the changes that we make to the columns will remain each time we log in to Evolution, any changes that we make to the earnings or deductions contained in these check lines are one-time changes only, effective for this payroll. The next payroll that we process, these earnings and deductions will go back to their scheduled defaults. You'll notice that some of the rows have a lock next to the ED code. These are the scheduled deductions that were set up for this employee, and we cannot edit the amounts on these deductions. If I would like to remove one of these deductions, I can do so by clicking on the line, and then on my keyboard, I'm going to use Control Delete. The system will ask me if I'm sure. I'll click OK, and now that line has been removed. If I want to change the amount of a deduction that is currently scheduled, even though I can't edit the field that is currently on the check, I can duplicate this line by using the keys on my keyboard, Control D. And that will set up a new line that I can now edit if I would like to change the dollar amount. If I make that change, I just want to remember to come back up and delete the one that I have added now to the bottom of the line. If I want to add new rows to these lines, I simply click in the bottom row, and I'm going to click on the down arrow on my keyboard, which will give me a brand new row. I can then click into the ED code window and click the drop down arrow, providing a list of all the deductions and earnings that are available for me to use. For example, if I want to add a bonus amount for this employee, I will select the bonus ED code and then enter the dollar amount in the amount column. When I click enter off of this column, another row is automatically created below. If unneeded, I can just click any row above in the grid and the unneeded row will disappear. Other edits that are available here on the check lines, I can enter in the employee's regular hours. And if they have a separate rate number for different rates, I can use the rate number column and enter in a different rate number, and that will automatically change their rate of pay from what their default rate is to the rate that is associated with that rate number. I'm also able to edit the rate of pay by simply clicking into the rate of pay window and changing the rate of pay to the desired amount. Once I've made all the changes on the check that I would like to see, I can click on the Recalculate check at the bottom of the screen, which is then going to take me to the Preview tab, and it's going to give me the calculated amounts for this particular check. If I still want to make further edits, I can come back to the check lines, and I can change my entries as needed. Other tabs will allow me to do other edits here in the check lines. If I click on the General tab, I'm able to refresh the scheduled EDs. This is going to restore the check back to the original settings when we first clicked into it and bring back those scheduled deductions that we had previously removed. I simply click on that button and then I'll click on the check lines, and now I can see that my original deductions are back in place under the locked lines. And then I can save those changes as needed and recalculate the check one more time if I would like to see the further edits in the calculated check preview. The next tab is for tax overrides, which allows me to complete a one-time edit to the taxation of this check. I can change the tax frequency by clicking the drop-down and selecting an alternative frequency for this check. If I'm doing a bonus check, I may want to tax at the federal supplemental rate by selecting yes. I can do an override to the tax type and value. I can also block all federal or just any scheduled additional amounts. Although there are options to block OASDI, Medicare, and FUI, please check with your CSR first, as it is a very rare circumstance when these taxes should not be included in an employee's check. I can also make edits to state taxes, though it looks a little different from the federal. Here I will use the drop-down menus in each column to edit. First, if I want to exclude any scheduled state overrides, I'll make a new selection here in the Exclude Additional column. Next, I can tax at the state supplemental rate. Again, if I'm entering a bonus, I'll select yes. To block all state withholdings, I'll select yes under Exclude State. I can also override any tax types and enter a value in the column Type and Value. And finally, while you have columns for excluding SDI and SUI, please check with your CSR first, as it is also a rare circumstance when these two should be blocked. Once I'm satisfied with all of my changes, I can recalculate the check again to see the new calculated taxes and the net amount for this check. I can navigate between employees in these check lines by using the drop-down menu for the employee name or the employee number. And if you're using a keyboard with a number pad, you have additional shortcuts available for you. The plus sign will move you to the next record, and the asterisk sign will move you to the previous record. Finally, if I need to delete a check, I can do so by clicking on the red X at the top of the screen to delete the current record. The system will ask me I'm sure, and when I click OK, this check will be deleted. Once I'm done with any edits that I need to make in my individual check lines, I can return to the batch and the quick entry grid by clicking on the batch button at the bottom of the screen. This concludes our look at the individual check lines in Payroll for Evolution Classic. For further instruction in other payroll functions, please check out our video library at CompletePayroll.com. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.